What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the series. Carrie here, your watercolor misfit, and today is gonna be a little bit different. Next week is actually my birthday, so I decided to be adult and purchase my own birthday gift, and it's coming today in the mail. So you already know from the thumbnail that I am getting a watercolor porcelain palette. And today I'm going to show you, once I get it, how I set it up and how I kind of go about my process of making the decisions that I do to set up my watercolor palette. So let's go ahead and start some music and begin. Number 1, clean the surface. The very first thing that I do whenever I get a new palette is I go ahead and clean just with water the whole entire palette, and I get into all of those grooves and all of the wells. And basically the reason why I do this is I want to make sure I remove all of the dust that is on this palette before I put my new paints inside. Step number 2, basically in this step you're going to be wiping down your palette after its nice water bath. And oh, I forgot to mention, I don't really use soap at all. I just use water to wipe off all that dust. And then once I'm done for step 2, I just dry it with a clean cloth. Step number 3, choosing all of those fantastic colors to put inside of your palette, which can be pretty tricky in my case because I have so many paints that I've gathered over the years. It's really hard to kind of limit my color palette into this one palette altogether, but I'm going to show you kind of my process of how I do this. Now, you're going to notice with this particular palette, there are 18 deep wells on the left and the right side. If you put those together, it's 9 on one side and 9 on the other. And then you're going to have 14 shallow wells there on the top and the bottom, thus having a total of 32 wells altogether along the outside of this palette. This is just going to be my personal preference, but I'm not going to fill up all the wells in this palette. I'm just going to fill up those deep 18 wells. Alright, step number 4 for me, after I had kind of gathered all the colors that I use pretty much most often, I came up with actually 32 colors. But like I said earlier, I want to limit that to 18. So then what I started doing was kind of evaluating my colors based on warm, cool, and then neutral colors. So my warm colors would be more like orange, yellow, and red, and then my cool colors would be green and blue and even some purples that I have. And then my neutrals would be my browns, and then I have a gray, I believe, as well, that I included. So what I started doing is prioritizing. I tend to like warmer palettes, and this is just something that I have learned over the years. So I knew that I would want more warm colors and also more neutrals because those are the colors that I use most often compared to my cool colors. So I definitely prioritized the warms and the neutrals and made sure that I included all of the colors that I use all the time in those 2 categories. And finally, the last step is placing the paints actually in your wells. Now, for me, I don't like to fill my entire well up with paint. I usually just fill half of it, and I try and push the paint to one side. The reason for this is because sometimes I like to add new paint in, or when I am actually mixing, I like to have a little area where I can have water in the well actually. So if I want to get a lighter version of that color, I can actually get it from one side of the well. It's just a personal preference. You can do it any way that you want to. Some people fill up the entire well. Some people, like me, only fill up half of it. There's no right or wrong. It's just personal preference of the artist. And that is it, y'all, for this video. I hope you enjoyed this. I actually really did like sharing my process of how I set up my palette for all of you. Now, if you like this video, please make sure to like that little thumbs up button. And also, if you're not subscribed and you would like to see new content from me, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and also hit that bell icon. That lets you know immediately as soon as I upload new content, so you can stay in the know on this channel. And lastly, I'm gonna be asking for all of you, basically your help and your voice for this particular video. I have 2 templates that I'm thinking about painting in the future on this channel. And one of them is Spooky Kitty, and the other one is Whimsical Bunny, which I've actually painted before, but I wanted to play around with some new watercolor techniques that I've been just messing around in my watercolor sketchbook, and I wanted to try it in an illustration form. So if you would really like to see Spooky Kitty and perhaps make that a like it to win it video, kind of like what we did with Teddy, make sure to leave the name down below. Write it in the comments that you want Spooky Kitty. However, if you prefer more of the style of the Whimsical Bunny and you would like to see that, me paint that as well as get it as a like it to win it video in the future, then make sure you leave the name Whimsical Bunny down below. So I hope that makes sense. Basically, I'm gonna explain it real quick one more time. If you want the Spooky Kitty template for the future, you need to leave that name. And if you want the Whimsical Bunny template for the future, or this drawing for the future, you need to leave the name down below. And what I'm gonna do is, after a week, I'm gonna read those comments, see which one had the most, and then I'm gonna allot that for a future video. So I hope you enjoyed this once again, and I will see you next time. Bye!